A secret meeting about you just ended, and someone walked out in tears. Archangel Michael says, the room was cold, the lights were dim, and your name sat heavy in the center of the table like a sealed envelope waiting to be opened. Voices moved like shadows, weighing your choices, measuring your silence, and testing your strength behind closed doors. The meeting ended, and one pair of eyes could not hold back tears because the truth about you shattered a plan built on pride. They gathered because your path refuses to stay small and hidden. They read notes about your progress, your resilience, and the quiet wins you have never posted or celebrated. They saw a pattern that frightened those who profit from your doubt and awakened those who still remember your light. A hand tried to bury your history, yet the facts kept rising like dawn. The person who once dismissed you had to admit that you refused to break even when the pressure grew heavy. Your name became a key that opened rooms you never asked to enter. Someone whispered that your courage is not an accident. Someone admitted that your patience was the strategy that none of them could predict. Someone realized that the delay you endured was not denial but careful arrangement. When your name was spoken, a hush fell because it carried the weight of unspoken victories. The one who walked out in tears felt two truths in the same breath: guilt for joining the plot and relief for witnessing your protection. The door closed behind them, and the corridor felt like a confession they could no longer hide. A record of small betrayals was laid out like a map. Every attempt to mislead you was traced back to a root of envy that could not touch your core. The person who cried recognized the edge where envy ends and reverence begins. They discussed opportunities meant for you that were quietly diverted. They listed messages that never reached you and invitations that vanished before they found your hands. The paper trembled in the unsteady grip of someone who suddenly saw how far the truth will travel to reach the right heart. They tried to label you with limits, yet the limits dissolved under evidence of your consistency. They tried to label you with fear, yet the fear wilted at the memory of the last time you stood through a storm. They tried to label you with shame, yet the shame turned on them when proof of your integrity filled the table. One voice called you fragile, and another answered with accounts of nights you endured without applause. One voice called you lucky, and another answered with the hours you invested when no eyes were watching. One voice called you replaceable, and another answered with the rare signature you leave on everything you touch. The tears came from the one who held your photograph longer than the rest. They remembered you at your lowest and realized that even then your hope never left the room. They saw that your quiet strength had built a bridge over every attempt to corner you. A message was drafted to keep you from applying for something with your name on it. A gatekeeper agreed to misplace your file to buy time for another plan. The tears began when the gatekeeper realized that even lost files find their owner when destiny calls them home. In the meeting, a timeline was pinned to the wall like a stitched wound. Every month told a story of how you kept moving when the ground tried to tilt. Every week told a story of how you kept giving when your hands were almost empty. Someone declared that your season should be postponed. Another person placed a hand on that declaration and slid it away from the agenda. The person who cried understood that postponement is not a law over those who are ready. They measured your quiet influence in rooms that never credited you. They traced how your words healed someone who never said thank you. They learned that gratitude does not need an audience to be true. They spoke about an old mistake you no longer carry. They tried to reattach it to your name like a heavy chain. The one who cried saw that your growth had melted the chain into a lesson that now works for you. A ledger of your efforts was read aloud. The entries were humble, the results were clear, and the rhythm of your progress silenced small minds. The one who cried covered their face because they remembered laughing at you when you were just beginning. Not all in that room were enemies. A quiet ally showed them the path you took to reach this hill. The ally reminded them that elevation is not theft when it belongs to the one who climbed. They tried to bend the narrative, but the evidence was written by your consistency. They tried to bend your image, but your presence refuses to be edited by temporary opinions. They tried to bend the future, but the contract with your purpose was signed long before envy learned your name. A phone buzzed with a message you were meant to miss. The truth stared back at the sender like a mirror they could no longer avoid. The one who cried knew that mirror by heart because it had followed them for months. There was talk of a meeting before this meeting. There was talk of a promise that would have caged your next move. There was talk of a signature forged by assumptions that never met your courage. They searched for a weakness and found endurance. They searched for a scandal and found transformation. They searched for a reason to say no and found a reason to step aside. Your story was read by a voice that used to be loud with doubt. The voice trembled and softened as the paragraphs unfolded. Silence answered when they reached the part where you chose healing over revenge. A plan to underpay you sat in a folder marked inevitable. The folder opened to reveal numbers that insulted your growth. The one who cried pushed the folder away and wrote a figure that respects your worth. They noted the way you protect what you love. They noted the way you honor your word. They noted the way you keep your heart clear even when the sky is heavy with noise. A memory rose of the first time you stayed after hours to fix what no one wanted to touch. A memory rose of the message you sent to lift someone who planned to leave everything behind. A memory rose of the day you showed up anyway, and the day showed you a new beginning. The person who cried once thought you were easy to underestimate. They watched you from a distance, waiting for you to fade. Your next yes will carry the weight of everything you have learned. Carry yourself with the ease of someone who has already crossed the bridge. Carry your craft with the care of someone who knows its value. Carry your heart with the tenderness of someone who honors their own story. The door that once closed in your face is now the door that swings wide. The path that once twisted is now the path that runs straight. The room that once conspired is now the room that complies. The horizon receives you with the authority of completion. The day receives you with the clarity of right timing. The world receives you with the quiet thunder of a promise kept. You step into what is yours and let it fit. You step into what is yours and let it breathe. You step into what is yours and let it shine. They met in secret and the secret could not hold. They judged in shadows and the judgment returned to sender. They tried to end your chapter and wrote the prologue of your ascension. Rise without rush and build without noise. Move with focus and speak with mercy. Work with precision and rest with trust. The light on your path is not decorative. The peace in your chest is not accidental. The alignment in your steps is not temporary. The one who cried will heal by honoring your name accurately. The one who opposed will soften by acknowledging your impact honestly. The one who watched will learn by studying your devotion quietly. The meeting is over and the verdict stands. The room is empty and the energy has changed. The corridor is clear and the way is open. This is your moment to take the next measured stride. This is your moment to accept the strength you earned. This is your moment to live the chapter they were never meant to write. The ink of your courage remains indelible. The tone of your integrity remains unmistakable. The rhythm of your service remains unstoppable. All that tried to divide you falls away in the presence of wholeness. All that tried to delay you falls away in the presence of readiness. All that tried to define you falls away in the presence of truth. You are seen accurately without begging for visibility. You are valued correctly without performing for approval. You are welcomed rightly without shrinking your essence. Stand tall in the quiet that follows a storm. Stand ready in the ease that follows a long climb. Stand grateful in the certainty that follows a tested heart. The chapter completes with the simplicity of a door clicking open. The path continues with the steadiness of steps that know their destination. The blessing rests with the dignity of a crown that fits without noise. A secret meeting about you just ended, and someone walked out in tears. Continuation morning laid a quiet seal over the night's decision. The city moved as if it knew a thread had been tied in your favor. Every small sound felt like confirmation that your steps are already blessed by alignment. Your ally reviewed the minutes and cut out every word that tried to shrink your contribution. Only the honest record remained, clear and steady like a lighthouse. The edited truth turned into a compass that now points your day in the right direction. The person who cried carried that honesty like a new stone in their pocket. It felt heavier than their old excuses and lighter than their former pride. They understood that the weight was teaching them how to stand straight. A message left the building with your name written in full, without shortcuts. Within it, a schedule aligned with the hours you guard and the boundaries you honor. Fairness finally learned your rhythm and decided to walk beside it. You rose into the day with deliberate ease. No sprint was needed because the road had already moved toward you. Momentum behaved like a loyal friend who knows your address by heart. The gatekeeper who almost misfiled your future returned to the drawer and set it right. Their hands learned new habits that respect other people's names. Their eyes learned to look twice where character is at stake. A quiet breakfast tasted like balance rather than distraction. You took time to breathe between bites, letting clarity soak the edges of today. Even the cup in your hand felt like steady ground. The ally sent a list of next steps that honored your pace. Each step fit like a phrase in your own voice. No step demanded you become smaller to move forward. The person who cried reached out to the ally and spoke plainly. A new loyalty began to form without negotiation. It stood on respect that does not wobble when pressure returns. You reviewed the path behind you and chose to keep only the lessons. The rest fell away like dried leaves that no longer hold the branch. Your trunk remembered the storms and grew rings of quiet strength. A room across town discussed you again, this time with care. The decision no longer trembled because truth stabilized its spine. Your name sat calmly in the center like a candle that knows its flame. An old rumor dissolved because there was nothing left to feed it. Silence replaced the appetite of gossip. The silence tasted like health, and the room chose to keep it. You prepared your work with the precision of someone who has nothing to prove. Every line reflected the hours you invested without an audience. Every detail carried the calm of a craft practiced in secret. The ally scheduled a meeting in a space that respects good faith. The invite read like an open window rather than a locked door. Your calendar felt lighter because integrity joined the appointment. You moved through the day with a spine that remembered its length. Your shoulders carried the message of release, not defense. Your breath taught the hours how to slow down and obey clarity. A signature requested your attention and met your standards. You reviewed it with the eyes of someone who honors themselves. The pen waited until your spirit confirmed that the page was safe. The person who cried began their repairs quietly. They apologized where needed without dragging your name into the room. Their new actions became their true statement, steady and consistent. Across the city, the old architect of delay re-evaluated their design. Their blueprint failed in the light and needed a better foundation. They understood that a future cannot be built on stolen measurements. You received a call that made more sense than any previous offer. The language respected your time and your preparation. The numbers finally matched the size of your devotion. Your space at home mirrored the order inside your mind. A clear desk helped the day organize itself around purpose. Even the light through the window seemed to find you at the right angle. The ally placed a protective buffer around the next decision. They ensured no hands could tamper with it on the way to you. What is yours? Learn to travel with guardians who value accuracy. Your steps through the hallway felt new, as if the floor agreed to support your rise. The building recognized your presence without noise or ceremony. The air carried the simplicity of a path that no longer resists you. The room where you arrive next has seats designed for sincerity. No chair tilts toward manipulation. The table is built for clear work and fair exchange. You read the final summary from last night's meeting. The summary honored the truth without drama. It closed the chapter with a seal that cannot be lifted by envy. The person who cried started choosing different rooms. They avoided circles that feed on distortion. They now understand that you are the kind of flame that learns to breathe underwater. A signature was demanded that would have bound you to old limits. The page was slid across the table like a test. The page came back and signed because what is small cannot hold what is growing. A chair scraped against the floor when a decision shifted. The floor remembered the sound of other shifts that moved in your favor without announcement. The air carried the scent of release that follows when truth enters a room that tried to live on pretense. They tried to predict your next step and got lost in their own map. They tried to calculate your momentum and forgot that grace multiplies in quiet. They tried to end your story and discovered that you hold the pen with a steady hand. The one who cried had nearly agreed to block a door. They had nearly written a sentence that would have cut your future in half. They chose instead to stand up and become the witness your name deserved. A list of people who pretended to support you was reviewed. The list grew smaller as motives were weighed. The remaining names glowed like embers that refused to go out in the rain. An apology formed without words. A soul began to rearrange itself to match the truth it could no longer deny. The person who cried stepped outside to breathe air that did not require a mask. The meeting ended with a verdict that looks like a sunrise. Your work will be presented without edits that poison the context. Your path will be allowed to move as it was meant to move. They spoke of the day you almost gave up. They remembered the moment you decided to stay. They admitted that your persistence was not stubbornness but alignment. They realized that the timing of your breakthroughs matches a larger rhythm. They realized that the doors opening for you are not random. They realized that the delays you survived trained you for an altitude that fear cannot handle. The person who cried carried a memory from the room to the hallway. The memory was simple and sharp, a promise they made to stop cooperating with smallness. The memory will follow them into better choices that honor what is real. A letter will arrive with your name spelled correctly. The offer inside will match the scale of your preparation. The tone will show respect because the room where it was written learned who you are. A bridge that was hidden will reveal itself in a conversation that sounds ordinary. A hand that once pushed you aside will move to make space for your step. A door that creaked with resistance will swing clean as if it had always been meant for you. They tried to decide your ceiling and found only sky. They tried to decide your speed and found only wind. They tried to decide your limits and found only distance. The one who cried felt the weight of choices that cannot be undone. They felt the relief of choosing differently from this day forward. They felt the calm that comes when truth restores order. The ally in the room stored a copy of the decision in a safe place. The ally will reach out with timing that respects your peace. The ally will protect the bridge until your feet arrive. Your name will be spoken with honor in the next gathering. Your work will travel where it belongs. Your heart will recognize familiar ground made new by courage. There will be echoes of old plans trying to pull you backward. There will be echoes of old opinions trying to speak for you. There will be echoes of old fears trying to borrow your voice. Your step will answer those echoes with quiet motion. Your step will answer those echoes with steady presence. Your step will answer those echoes with a focus that will not break. The room that conspired learned a final lesson as the door closed. Power borrowed from manipulation cannot survive the light of accountability. Power born from integrity will always call itself home. A table that once hosted rumors will host results. A chair that once held an accuser will hold a supporter. A hallway that once echoed with doubt will carry the sound of your arrival. The face streaked with tears will become a messenger of repair. The hands that misfiled your name will deliver it with care. The eyes that avoided your truth will learn to meet it. Your story is not fragile in the presence of scrutiny. Your story is not small in the presence of competition. Your story is not late in the presence of timelines that never knew your pace. The decision sealed at the end of the meeting honors your next chapter. The decision closes doors that do not fit you. The decision opens a clear path that recognizes the worth of your journey. The person who cried left a small note that only you will understand when it reaches you. The note will not ask for anything and will not excuse anything. The note will carry a single line that blesses your forward motion. Your task now is simple and strong. Proceed with the same steady heart that carried you through rooms that forgot your value. Proceed with the same disciplined hope that never stopped believing in quiet upgrades. A bookmark has been placed in the day when everything secretly turned in your favor. A quiet confirmation will arrive through an action that requires no noise. A new alignment will greet you like a familiar friend wearing a brighter face. You will notice how easily your name finds the right hands. You will notice how gently the right doors release their locks. You will notice how quickly regret leaves the rooms that used to host your doubt. This shift does not need spectacle because it is already complete. This shift does not need permission because it was always yours. This shift does not need applause because it was built by 1,000 unseen choices. The corridor where a heart broke will become the corridor where integrity rebuilt a life. The meeting that tried to shrink you became the meeting that witnessed expansion it could not stop. The document that tried to restrain you became the document that certified your rise. The one who cried learned that loyalty to truth is freedom. They learned that guarding a lie costs too much. They learned that honoring a bright soul returns peace to the room. The ally who stood for you will become more visible as days unfold. Their presence will be gentle and timely. Their role will be to open one last latch that only trust can move. The path ahead is clean and deliberate. The work is steady and honest. The result is aligned and inevitable. Your voice will be measured and sure. Your decisions will be clear and kind. Your boundaries will be strong and quiet. The next door opens with a sound that feels like relief. The next table welcomes you without pretending. The next chapter carries your signature without edit. The sun rose on a day that looks ordinary yet is everything but ordinary. The road in front of you remembers your footprints from yesterday and honors them with new ground. The wind at your back remembers your breath from last year and multiplies it with new strength. You are arriving without hurry and without noise. You are arriving with the proof of who you became while they debated your worth. You are arriving to collect what has always known your name. The meeting is over and the tears have dried on a face that chose truth at last. The room is empty and the echoes have stopped arguing. The day belongs to your next faithful step. The page turns with grace that wastes nothing. The ink dries on a decision that supports your expansion. The seal breaks on a gift that was preserved for this exact moment. Walk forward as if the path has been expecting you. Walk forward as if your preparation unlocked a living door. Walk forward as if your promise is already standing to greet you. The heart that cried learned to bow to what is real and rise with what is right. The hands that once delayed your letter now hurry to deliver it. The minds that once doubted your rise now study it. Your pace is calm and commanding. Your presence is luminous and grounded. Your horizon is wide and welcoming. The story closes on the room that could not hold you. The story opens on the field that was grown for you. The story continues with the voice that stayed loyal to its own light. You breathe, and the day answers with an open gate. You step, and the way steadies beneath your feet. You lift your eyes, and the future recognizes you with warmth. The hush after the meeting becomes the music of release. The silence after the debate becomes the canvas for your next design. The quiet after the tears becomes the soil where your harvest roots itself. What was whispered against you dissolves into air that cannot carry it any longer. What was planned around you unravels in the presence of a better plan. What was withheld from you returns with interest measured in peace. This is the moment when private resistance turns into public alignment. This is the moment when hidden sabotage turns into visible support. This is the moment when delay admits defeat and excellence finds its seat. Your name will be announced into the right ears without strain. Your gift will land in the right hands